Welcome back. We're having a cozy day. I want to talk about insecurities with you. Many of you have asked me what are some of the insecurities that I have had in my life or have in my life. And I wanted to talk about today the biggest insecurity that I have and how I overcome it in my life. Had you met me a couple of years ago, a number of years ago, I would have described myself as an insecure person. I had a lot of insecurities. So many different scenarios in my life caused me to just have a lack of confidence in who I was and in my gifts and what I had to share with the world. And I share about it, the root of my biggest insecurity in Go Bravely in chapter 18, if you've read that. My biggest insecurity that I've struggled with throughout my life that I have overcome and still on some days have to overcome once again is the fear that I'm a burden. The fear that I am bothersome to people or annoying to people, or that people would rather me not be around. If you've read chapter 18, you know the root of that insecurity, and that's a long story that I don't really want to get into today, but I want to talk about that insecurity because that's something some of you might experience. You might go throughout your daily life feeling like you're a burden to people, like you're annoying, like nobody wants you around. I don't know what insecurities you have in your life, whether it's, about your personality or who you are, or what you have or haven't done in your life, or if it's related to your body. I mean, there's a million different insecurities that we can have. But that is the biggest one that I have faced and dealt with and overcome throughout my life. And I want to share a little bit about how I have overcome that with you, because it's really important to remember that insecurities aren't something that we have to live with forever, that we can make conscious choices to combat that insecurity in our lives and overcome it, which is really awesome and something I've worked really hard at and I'm really grateful for. The first way that I combat this insecurity in my life is to ask myself, where is this voice that tells me that I'm a burden coming from? Like, what voice is that telling me that? And further, asking myself the question as a woman of faith, is this the voice of God? Like, is this the voice of God telling me in my life, you're a burden, you're an inconvenience to people? No. That's not the voice of God, and that's not the voice of truth. And recognizing that is a powerful first step in combating this insecurity. And that the voice that speaks into my life, speaks into your life about any of your insecurities that you have. You're not good enough, you're behind, you're ugly, any of those different kinds of things that we hear that cause insecurity in our hearts and in our lives. It's not the voice of truth talking to us. It's the voice of the enemy who wants to bring you down, who wants women to live in these small spaces of insecurity and just think like, I'm a burden, I'll never be good enough, I'm behind. That's where the enemy wants to keep us. And the voice of truth, God, who created you and I, wants us to live in the truth and live out of that place. So that first recognition of like, okay, I hear these statements in my heart and in my mind. Is this true? First of all, no. And what voice is that that's speaking to me? When I make a conscious effort to remind myself that that is not the voice of God, it's not the voice of truth, it's a very powerful thing. Number two way that I combat this largest of insecurities in my life is a little affirmation that I wrote up for myself to combat that voice that lies to me about who I am and the way other people perceive me. I shared this affirmation in my book, Go Bravely, in this chapter where I talk all about my insecurity. And that affirmation says this, and I want you to hear me when I say this out loud as well, because I'm saying it to myself as well. You are loved, worthy, and set apart for God's great purpose for your life. He delights in who you are and created you to take part in His divine plan for the world. You are not a burden. There are people who enjoy your company, who love you for who you are, and who genuinely want you around. Do not let what anyone else says or thinks ever convince you otherwise. And so I say that out loud when I need to remind myself, and when I feel that insecurity creeping up in my heart and in my life, I say that out loud to myself to remember who I am and what is true. The third way that I have overcome this insecurity and continue to overcome this insecurity in my life is to choose where I place my focus. This insecurity that I have was pretty deeply rooted in an experience that I had my freshman year of college with friends that I had who rejected me in my life. It is so easy to focus on those people in our lives who have caused directly or indirectly, purposefully or not purposefully, these insecurities to sprout up in our hearts and in our lives and take over our lives for seasons or even years. It's really easy to focus on those people and what they said and ask ourselves the question, why did they reject me? Why did they not like me? Why did they not want me around? Why did they see me as a burden? Why was I annoying or bothersome to them? Like asking myself those questions and focusing on that is never going to help me overcome that insecurity. And I realized that it was not going to help me become more confident. It wasn't going to help me overcome these fears that I have of being a burden. It wasn't going to help at all. To turn that focus away from those people in your life who cause those insecurities or perpetuate those insecurities, instead of focusing there, to focus on the people in your life who want to uplift you, support you as a sister, as a friend, as a daughter, for who you are and who God created you to be. To look at those people in my life has been so important, to receive their love and to receive just them loving me for all of my weakness, all of my strength, just everything that I am, to allow those people to love me and to allow those people to show me that I'm not a burden, that they want me around. To put my focus there has been very, very healing and very, very healthy and very, very good for me and very, very useful and helpful in overcoming this insecurity. These are just 3 simple ways that I've done that, kind of really broken down, but doing these 3 things in my life has really, really helped me overcome an insecurity that dominated my life for a really, really long time. A really long time. I let that fear and that insecurity dictate my relationships, the way I associated with people, who I, thought of myself. And it's so important to overcome something like this. And I'm so grateful that I was able to overcome something like this. Again, it still creeps up sometimes, but was able to overcome something like this so I can live as the confident woman that God created me to be. I desire that you would overcome your insecurities as a woman and live confidently as the woman you were created to be. It's kind of why I'm here. It's kind of why I make videos, because I want to support you and empower you to be the confident woman you were created to be. That's all for today. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you soon.